All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Main Chat Nerd Night. We got a couple of folks here from the Main Chat Discord server. We're just going to be playing some Dungeons and Dragons for a quick recap, just to remind myself and to remind the players. Quite a lot. This is our 5th session, so we've had a couple of things go on. The group started out in a small hamlet by the name of Darnek. They witnessed a couple of things happening there. Their aid was enlisted by an elf to get her travel documentation so that she would be able to cross the border out of the country of Sundi, where they are, the kingdom of Sundi, excuse me, where they are, into the neighboring dominion of the city of Dulstrand. In doing so, they made their way over to the capital city of Fandalo, capital of the Hestmark County. Along the way, they had a couple of encounters. They encountered some gnolls, they encountered bandits, and they encountered a statue of a dwarf, which was very interesting. They made their way, after making their way on the road, they made their way into Fandalo itself. They found themselves at the Fate's Draw Inn, where they stayed the night, had good meat, were very generous with their gold. And come morning, they decided to explore a little bit of the city, try and obtain some of the information they were seeking. To that end, Prudence and Rurik ended up in the Commerce Guild Marketplace, where Shigun and Rurik managed to just barely talk their way into the Castle Windarch.
I think you mean Shigun and Zook.
What did I say? Did I say Shigun and Rurik? I meant Shigun and Zook.
Yes. You did.
Shigun and Zook managed to just barely talk their way into the castle, where they met William Dupreet, who appears to be some sort of butler or servant of some kind. They met with Peacekeeper Ulrich after discussing that they are looking for information regarding House Tarmyran and links to potential treason. They were directed into the basement library, where they were led around in circles by a rather interesting character before taking a couple of books and doing a little bit of investigation. So, I will start this session today. We have 2 groups here. I'll start this session actually with Prudence and Rurik at the marketplace. I believe you've just made your way to the center of the marketplace and you've joined up with each other.
Yes, that sounds right. Having concluded my business in the prior,
That's this group in yellow.
or before, I will be mostly following Prudence's lead here.
Okay. For those of you who aren't familiar, the player who plays the part of Prudence, typically they don't speak in voice chat, so I just have to wait for them to finish typing and so on. And in the meantime, you get to listen to some great music. Okay. So that was the Opalite Tower, I believe. Was that it?
Yes, that was correct.
The Opalite Tower. All right. So
Heading for the tower.
Yep. So Prudence comes up to Rurik and says, I noticed a tower, and he glances with his eyes. Rurik, you turn, and you now see an opalite tower stretching several stories up. It almost shimmers in the sunlight. And he said, I'd like to make my way over there, see if we can find anything of value. Perhaps augment our magical abilities. So you make your way over there. You gotta flip to the page where I have my notes. I went one too far. There we go. So you make your way up to this opalite tower. As you get closer, you do notice that the entire structure seems to be composed of one single large rock. You don't see any seams, you don't see any bricks. Almost as if the spire is essentially growing out of the ground. But it is solid. And it doesn't seem to be illusory. of any nature. You make your way up to the tower. There is a pair of doors at the very bottom, just plain wooden doors, and the doors are currently closed. Okay. At this distance, roll perception for me. Okay. So Prudence, you walk up to the structure. As you knock on the door, it is pretty solid wood. So your first knock is fairly light. Your second knock is much harder to get through the solid wood. Yep. Oh. Is the bot down? I hope not.
That would suck.
That'd be annoying. Oh, there it goes. Why it keeps resetting itself to an exclamation point? Like, I very specifically changed it to a question mark so it wouldn't conflict with the other bot. And it keeps resetting itself. Anyway, I'm gonna go fix that right now. So you roll a 9. Yeah, what you're looking for as you get closer to the structure and you're actually now up against it because you're knocking on the door, you don't see any scratches or what appears to be weather damage or anything like that. You sort of take your time and you lean into it, you shine the light across, and once again you don't notice any scratching, weathering, nothing like that. You wouldn't be able to tell any further away, but at least at ground level it doesn't look like being close to the ground is having any effect on this structure. So you wait for a moment, and the door creaks open very slowly, and you see an eye peering out. Yes, hello. Can I help you? A female voice comes out. Okay. So you say, nice to meet you. My name is Prudence. I'm looking for a spell merchant or someone who perhaps sells magic items. I hope that I haven't come at a bad time. The eye you see recedes slightly. I'm not exactly a merchant, but what sort of magic are you looking for? Okay. So you describe, I'm a practitioner of the magic arts. I'm a wizard. I'm looking, and I'm a professor as well, and I'm looking for some sort of utility magic, but we seem to get into scraps sometimes. The figure inside. Well, you're a wizard. All right. Well, I don't have any magic items, not at the moment, not for sale, certainly. But why don't we talk a little bit? You see the door opens up fully, and standing in the doorway is a relatively tall elven woman. You see she's dressed in a set of robes that nearly matches the color of the opalite. As she moves, the material seems to shimmer, much in the same way that the iridescent stone may. She steps away from the door and motions you inside. Okay. She asks, is it alright if my friend, you should put a thumb over your shoulder pointing at the dwarf.
Hello.
She looks over your shoulder, like at eye level, and then looks down and notices you. Notices Rurik. And she's looking very directly at your warhammer. Just don't go swinging at anything, all right? She takes a step away from the doorway and walks inside.
I shan't touch a thing.
I'll hold you to that. So you make your way into the tower. Now, the tower itself, it's not enormous by any means. It's probably only about 30, 40 feet across at the absolute widest. You see on the inside, it is smaller. It's appropriately smaller. And along the rear wall, you see a long spiral staircase that starts at the ground level, and you look up, and it winds all the way up to the top of the tower. The floor that you're on is a disaster. There are Prudence, you would recognize these easily. You see spell components. You see, bits and pieces of machinery. Rurik, you notice the alchemy supplies in the corner. There's in one side to your left, there's just a crater in the ground, and what appears to be various broken pieces of wood. And as the elf walks in, she says, "My name is Elwëa. I do a bit of magical experimentation here and there." She walks over to one side. "You looking for magic for purchase? Can't say that's not very common around here. But I might have a couple of things here." She goes over to one of the tables and starts shuffling through some papers. And she... Oops, let me pull up the actual list here. If I can get it to come up. There we go. Oops, that didn't come up. 1 second. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. She actually has a couple of bundles that she comes away from the table. You see she has 3 scrolls that she's holding. And as she sort of darts her hands around, darts her head around, and and she scurries off to one other side towards where the blast in the ground is, and she picks up something from the center and makes her way back towards you. I also have this. So I have a blah, blah, blah. I was an idiot and didn't get my spell cards out, so I have to really quickly scramble to get them. Okay. Spells. Here we go. So she lays out one of the scrolls. This is a... looks you up and down. Perhaps not the type of magic you may be interested in, but I do have a scroll. Oops. Wrong sort option. There we go. We have a scroll here that you might find interesting looking at Rurik, actually. This is a spell that will be able to have a creature do anything you want it to. You tell it something to do, and it will do it until it can't anymore. She hands the scroll to you, and you open it up, and it is a scroll of command, which allows you to pick a one-word command to a creature you can see within range. They must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or follow the command on its next turn. It can't be something that's directly harmful to it. That, I think, will give you Why don't we say, she just sort of washes her hand in the air, 110 gold pieces? And if that's not to your liking, we also have another scroll here that's our Tiefling friend may find interesting. When
you have a moment, feel free to continue, but I have a mechanics question when you have a moment.
Sure. What is the mechanics question?
I actually command is a spell I have access to, and I could prepare to whim if I wanted to. How is what is the effectiveness of having it as a scroll?
So you would be able to instantly cast it once without needing to prepare it.
Oh, so it's like a one-time, one and done, immediate use.
Right. Exactly.
That's neat.
Oops, that's not what I wanted.
I imagine that's the difference between a scroll and a spellbook.
Yes, that makes sense. Right, carry on.
And I have a scroll here that you may find interesting. She nods to you. Excuse me. Prudence. This is a scroll that produces a frost ray. It will, perhaps not the most powerful of spells, but it's something that you might be able to learn given the time. She opens the scroll up to reveal a scroll of Ray of Frost, which is a cantrip. Deals 1d8 cold damage on a hit, and the target's speed is reduced by 10 feet until the end of the spell. It's the start of your next turn. It does upcast, but scrolls can't be upcast. This one, I could probably let go for 50 gold pieces. It's not a lot, I think. And as you're considering, she opens up the third scroll and starts scanning down it. It's this, maybe, I don't know, perhaps, no, that wouldn't make sense. I have a scroll here that you might like. It's a little bit above you right now, but you might be able to find it useful later. When you use it, it will produce a Stinking Cloud. Stinking Cloud being a 3rd level spell. You don't have access to 3rd level spell slots yet. It is possible to cast spells that are above your level. You just have to roll a check for it to make sure you can do it. Oops, the thing is not working. The thing broke. There we go. Right, so her misunderstanding of how wizardry works, right? You're not actually able to, mechanically, you're not able to learn cantrips on will like that. You're fine with waiting for what?
I think he meant waiting to use the spell.
Oh, waiting on that one. So just to cut down to the options that you've... Okay, waiting on Stinking Cloud, 3rd level. Okay. And she puts the scrolls to the side and holds up a small gem. As you stare into it, it's a small blue gem that has a very small spark that's sort of glowing inside of it. Let me pull up the stats of the thing that I'm looking for. Before I accidentally give you something that's way too powerful for you. Okay. The stone is a miniaturized version. I've been working on this spell. Hopefully it she looks over at the crater on the floor. Oh, hopefully it works. I haven't had the opportunity to try it yet, unfortunately. But
So the crater didn't come from the gem itself.
Oh, no, no, no. I wouldn't be handing it away simply that easy. No, the crater was from the creation process, and I'm just hoping perhaps it has a better use than this.
I'm interested in learning more about what alchemy you dabble in.
Oh, of course. So I will just finish this transaction first.
Right.
The stone that she hands to you is a cleansing stone. It is essentially a unlimited usage prestidigitation specifically for cleaning yourself. So it pulls away grime, pulls away dirt and sweat and everything off of your body. It is a... this should hopefully help you maintain your appearance. I've noticed you picking at your clothing. And it's something I've been working on for quite some time. As she straightens her robes a bit, I try to maintain an immaculate appearance. Don't mind the mess. Something like this, why don't we say 80 gold pieces, perhaps?
I really should have got some dinner.
Okay. You ask, is there anything else that you may be looking for? Excuse me, anything else that you may have for sale? Well, perhaps nothing intact, but if there's something that you would like me to try and make, we can definitely perhaps arrange something. And while Prudence is typing, I specialize in the type of potion craft involved in transmutation. So perhaps you'd like to be a little faster, or perhaps you'd like to be a little stronger. These are the types of potions that I like to build. I don't have any currently. She glances down at the floor at the various broken pieces of glass. None of it, perhaps, in one piece right now, but if you come back another time, I may have something a little bit more functional. Okay, so you pull out... Now, 148 gold is... It doesn't sit well in one hand, so it does take you a couple of handfuls, and you're placing them onto the table, and you pull all of it out of your pouch and like fold the pouch inside out and shake it a few times, and a little moth flies out. Perhaps this might cover the Stinking Cloud scroll and that gem. And she looks at it. You see a little spark in her eyes for a second, and she just makes a small little motion with her fingers. Well... She considers for a moment. It seems a little light. Is there perhaps something else that you may be able to offer? I do also barter in materials. I certainly have no shortage of these. No shortage of need.
I might be able to help make up some of the difference. I have a couple of potion ingredients that I've scavenged around for. Maybe they might be of use to you.
Really? Let's have a look then. And just remind me, I told you to write something specific down. I don't remember what it was.
You said common potion ingredients, 3.
That's right. And as you take out your alchemy / potion making kit, and you lay out a couple of components here and there, She kind of dismissively shakes her head at some of them. No, I have a barrel of that. It's, oh, rather interesting. So you come from the south. She holds up a small collection of wildflowers that you've carefully preserved. That you did indeed find on the path here.
Is that something that strikes your fancy?
Well, I can't say I get out very much, so sometimes asking for specific plant ingredients is a little bit hard to come by. But if you have any more of these, which you do, you have several of them, it will take away essentially one full potion ingredient set from you, leaving you with 2. But that will be all of the flowers and plants that you have. Excuse me, all of the leaves and flower petals and such.
Correct.
I gotta go to the bathroom. 1 second.
Okay, Prudence pipes up. If I don't have anything else of value, but I may be able to lend my spell book. She waves you off. Oh, don't worry, I have spell books. Tell you what. If you'd like to continue bringing more of these, she points at the flower ingredients. For today, we'll call this even. In the future, I might have a couple of tasks for you.
All right.
Can I count on you to return sometime?
I believe we will be coming back through this area in the future. Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Oh, my name is Elwëa, by the way. I don't know if I ever actually mentioned.
Ah, yes. Apologies. I am Rurik.
Well, it is good to know that some of... She just kind of stops and considers her words carefully. It is good to meet you, Rurik. It is not often that individuals of your stature cross my threshold. And Prudence, you did tell us. So it would seem. Very well. Is there anything else that I may be able to help you with?
As I mentioned before, I'm intrigued to learn more about the alchemy you practice. You mentioned transmutation. Have you thought of any application of this towards potentially healing? Can you, for example, transmute physical objects into a means of healing?
Perhaps. And I'm actually going to cut this conversation off here and switch over to Shigun and Zook, because I don't want to leave you guys out. So.
Hello. Is Zook back?
Not quite yet, but I will move over to here. So Shigun, I believe you are sort of thumbing through a book. Zook was looking through a scroll that had been left behind by the individual.
Yes.
Excuse me. You had learned a little bit more about about House Tarmyron. It's very interesting to note, just to reiterate for the others, it was very interesting to note that there was a lot of information about them outside Sundi, not a lot of information about them inside Sundi, which was a interesting sort of thing to notice. While we're waiting for Zook, is there anything else you'd like to do while you're here? You are in the middle of a library.
Is the individual who was walking around, is he still nearby, or?
Make a perception check.
Okay, let's see if I remember how to do that.
I did change the prefix back to a question mark, by the way.
Okay.
That's all.
I'm back.
The DM rolled a 20 on stealth.
Probably not.
Oh, jeez.
I'm in a
Well, I'm back.
library.
Okay. So we've
I made
shifted.
a sandwich. I'll eat it.
Neat. We've shifted over to you two, Shigun and Zook. Shigun was just looking for the interesting individual you met last time, and he unfortunately rolled a 3 for a total of 5. That he doesn't notice. You don't notice him around.
Okay.
You haven't heard him. You haven't seen him. So. While you're here at the table, what would you like to do?
So, do you think we should talk to Rurik about what we found in these books?
Absolutely yes.
Because we definitely should probably take these with us, but I'm not sure where that individual is spoken about. So, if we can't find him, we should probably just take him upstairs with us.
I mean, well, bearing in mind you haven't left the table yet, so.
I have message now. I will cast message, and
Okay.
I will send Shigun
Let's see.
the information
Okay.
in the scroll that I read, and that
the little
the
side
guy
notes
was
and gnomish
following
and
us
everything.
around.
The little like there was some writing in the margins in gnomish that was essentially counteracting some of the information.
Yeah, that too.
Okay. Let's see. Through solid objects, if you're familiar with the target. Oh, can travel. Okay. Okay. So you send
I'm
this.
doing this to speak quietly.
Okay. Yeah. No. It messages a silence. There is a small verbal component. You whisper a message. The range is 120 feet. And unfortunately, you were sending this to whom?
Shigun.
Oh, you were just right next to you. Okay. So you whisper the information, and Shigun, if you'd like, you can also use message to whisper a response back.
And he's just conveying to me the gnomish text. Is that right?
The information that he's found on the scroll. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah. Right. I wouldn't know that. Yeah.
Right. You don't know gnomish.
And also, that the guide was running us round.
Okay, because you did notice that. You did notice that the person was sending you around in circles.
So I think whatever Tarmira, and that I think that whatever Tarmiran's involved with here, this local royal family is complicit.
Okay. So at this point, because of the way message works, you are now just literally whispering to him, because it's just a one quick message, once back and forth, and that's it.
Okay.
Also, you are whispering, so whispering to an individual next to you is essentially whispering to an individual next to you.
Okay, so I'm doing that then.
Okay, so you... Shigun, what would you like to do?
Well, I think we should probably report to Rurik what we've found. I'm not sure if that guy wandering around the library, if he was trying to lead us astray or if he was just being goofy. I think he's just being goofy, but I think we should take up with us what we found.
Okay. Just openly.
Well, I'm not like shouting it or anything, but I'm just kind of speaking a little hushed so that way I'm not overheard.
Okay. So at this point you get up from the desk and you make your way out of the library. The library again is a very large space, very large, not open space, but there's lots of bookshelves. It's essentially down one long hallway, that's where the stairs are. You make your way down, going through the different aisles. You don't notice the individual, just sort of casually glancing about. You make your way up the stairs, and around the corner, down the hallway to Peacekeeper Ulric's office, more or less.
Okay.
Knock on the door.
Yep.
There's no response.
Is the door locked? I'm gonna try opening the handle.
Yeah, you go to shake the handle. The door is locked.
Is there anybody else wandering around the hallways? Like, is William around, or any other servants, or...
Okay. You don't see William. You do see a number of other servants that are wandering around. They're dressed very much the same way. Perhaps not as finely as William was, and without the same facial accoutrement. But there are a number of servants coming and going. You see a guard, just one guard, all the way down at the end of the hall, not really looking at you.
Okay.
I'm using the text chat while I eat my sandwich.
Oh,
Okay.
Was that question in character?
Well, I mean, he's asking the question of you, so...
Okay. Well, we're trying to find where Ulrich is so we can tell him what we found.
One of the passing servants just kind of stops. Oh, you're looking for Ulrich. Ulrich had to go out. He actually, it's middle of the day, so he's kind of has to make sure that the guards are doing what they're supposed to do and all that. So he'll be around. It's maybe he points down the hall to the guard at the end of the hall. He might know where Ulrich went.
Okay. Zook is typing. I'm gonna wait. Okay. Well, thanks for your help. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. He scampers off. He was carrying like a small block of cheese or something, so he's got places to be, man.
I am a bit suspicious as well. I'm whispering to Zook, make sure no one can overhear us. We could try finding the others and see what they think. If Ulrich has stepped out, then he's stepped out. It wouldn't be too difficult to meet up with him again later if we had to. Correct.
I'll just voice for the sake, as in the other party members. That sounds like a plan, says Zook.
Okay. Well, I guess we're going to head towards the way we came in from the castle.
Okay. Yeah, the castle's a relatively large open space. You make your way down the hall through the one door into the foyer area. As you are walking out, William comes around the corner. Oh, were you able to find what you were looking for, sirs?
I think we did, yeah. We might be back a little bit later. We're not quite sure yet. We've got a couple other of our comrades in town. We're going to meet up with them.
Well, I will let the guard know that you are, you're welcome here, and perhaps you won't have so much trouble getting in next time.
Of course, William. I really do appreciate your help.
Absolutely, sir. He goes down into a very low bow, and as he reaches almost a 90-degree bow, you hear a little and he goes, "Ugh!" And he stands up very quickly. These joints don't work quite the same way they used to, sirs. My apologies.
I understand. It's okay. You don't have to go to such lengths for me.
Of course, sir.
Give Ulrich my regards. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna head with Zook then towards the exit and make our way out.
Okay. So you were in the foyer, so the exit is right behind you. You open the doors, walk out. The two guards on either side of the door, they close the door behind you.
Okay.
You make
Well,
your
that
way
was
out.
significantly smoother than I expected.
Yeah.
Okay. You make your way out into the courtyard of the castle. Where's my pen so I can point out where you are? Make your way out into the courtyard of the castle. And where do you go from there? Or would you like to go from there?
I feel we should try and regroup.
Yeah.
Just courtyard of the castle right now.
Well, they said they were going to the marketplace, didn't they?
That they did.
Hmm.
Did Prudence give us a signal of some sort?
Not that I know of. Did you? I don't recall. Oh, the stupid text chat is not updating. There we go. Okay, yeah, he didn't do any communication. He sent out Deer to look for Rurik, but Rurik was inside of a shop, so she didn't see him.
Like, I heard something about, like, oh, like, if you want to find me, do a whistle or something, or, like, I'll do a whistle.
Okay. So each of you, just make sure you write in your inventories that, Shigun, you have the Book of Noble Houses, and Zook, you have the, scroll on the history of House Time-Iron.
1 second. Dropped my microphone. Cable's all tangled.
How do you spell Tarmyron?
I will throw it into the text chat. It is Tarmyrin.
So I have the books and Zook has the scroll, yeah?
Correct. Which, by the way, side note, I have typed the name Tarmyrin so much that my autocorrect no longer flags it as not a word.
And I have probably misspelled it every single time in my notes.
You'll eventually decide on how you want to pronounce your family name, so we'll get there. Okay, so you make your way out. You're in the courtyard now. You are aware of the vague direction of where the marketplace that Prudence saw from the window of the inn.
Mm-hmm.
You would probably be able to make your way over there in a certain amount of time. Because it's like the next block over, so.
Yeah, I say we head over there. How busy is the marketplace currently?
Currently, it is getting towards late afternoon, perhaps. It is not about as busy as you'd expect it to be. It's not particularly busy. Perhaps the evening rush hasn't happened yet, but there are people around. There's a good... as you pass them on the road, there are definitely lots of people walking by. Whoop, I knocked the camera a bit. There. As you make your way down to sort of this area here, which is essentially like a large field with patches of grass that have been that have died off, there are individuals in this area here who are doing what appears to be some kind of martial training.
It's called a park.
Could be. Doing some sort of martial training. There are dummies set up here and there. You turn around the corner and you get to a very large opening, a large open space with lots of stalls, shops, businesses. It's a bustling marketplace. It's not... You would be able to walk from one end to the other without bumping into somebody, but there are quite a lot of people in this space. So, as you make your way into the courtyard, make a quick perception check, if you could, please,
Okay.
both of you.
I'm a bit rusty. How do I do that?
Question mark, D20 plus whatever your modifier is, if you're using the bot. Okay. Yeah, so Shigun, you see it. Zook, unfortunately, you can't really see over the heads of everybody, so it's a little tough for you to see. Shigun, you do notice the individuals standing in the center of the courtyard. Prudence and Rurik encountered them in the previous session. They're wearing, relatively long robes. Some of them have maroon. They're just sort of standing in the middle of the courtyard. No one's directly interacting with them, but they're just sort of there looking around. They seem to be keeping an eye on things.
I'm going to head over and approach them since they seem like they're important.
Okay. Make your way across the courtyard. One of them turns as you approach. Well met.
Yes,
Welcome
greetings.
to the Guild of Commerce.
Thank
Is
you.
there
It's an honor.
something you're perhaps looking to purchase?
Well, we're actually looking for our traveling compatriots. We're looking for a dwarf about yay high and his traveling a tiefling friend as well.
He bumps one of the people next to him, and they converse quietly between each other. I believe we did see one such individual. The fiend kind, yes? Has a crow on one shoulder sometimes?
Yes, that would be him. He was traveling with one of our dwarven friends, and we're wondering where they might have scurried off to.
Well, we don't necessarily keep track of people in the marketplace, but I did see him go to a jeweler who's again bumps the person next to him, who was the one that actually spoke to them. We do. Blip. I need to flip to the page. We did send them to a metallurger, and they were looking for a jeweler of some kind. Beyond that, we wouldn't have any way of knowing.
Okay.
Son of a mother, where is it on my notes? I had the names of the people. I believe one was Khan, and the other was Condi, something like that. I need to reorganize my notes. Oh, there we go. Kondal was the jeweler, and Khan was the metallurger.
I see.
They both, the person that you're speaking to and the other one that he's been consulting with, both sort of point across the courtyard to two storefronts that are a couple of storefronts between each other, but one of them, they're each pointing to one of them.
I see. Well, I'm sure he'll turn up sooner or later. I'll check those shops out shortly, I think. Thank you.
Oh, pleasure.
There are a lot of people here, Zook. Do you really think they're still here in the marketplace?
I don't know. I might check with the jeweler.
Okay. Well, if you want
I mean, where do you think they went?
Well, I know Rurik studies alchemy and plants, so I don't know. I guess we can just try both of them and see.
Yeah. I mean, if that fails, we can just go back to the hotel.
It was the Fate's Draw Inn.
Yeah.
Go back to the inn.
Okay.
Because they're bound to make their way there eventually.
You know, I'm inclined to agree. Because if we were in the castle for some time, and if they were shopping around, they may have already made their way back there.
Do you think we should check there first?
Let's peek in these shops real quick. It'll just take a few minutes.
Okay, so which of the shops are you going to? Which one first, rather?
We'll just head into the jeweler shop first. I'm not really interested in purchasing anything. I'm just checking to see if they're in there.
Okay. You go into the shop, you come in, and you immediately see a set of display cases. There are precious gems. There's some that have been fitted into mounts, some that are not. You see a couple of pieces of jewelry that have gems mounted into them. Otherwise, you do see a couple of individual gems that have been laid out for display. And as you walk in, there's an individual standing behind the counter. Scruffy hair. His hands look a little worn. They've definitely seen some... He's definitely not a stranger to hard work, despite the fine work being displayed here. Oh, hello. What can I help you?
Greetings. Oh, I'm actually looking for a person. Two of them, actually. Did a dwarf and a tiefling come by here recently? We were traveling compatriots, and we're trying to hunt them down. We're not sure where they ran off to.
Well, I don't remember... I don't remember a tiefling, but I do remember a dwarf. He came in, he was looking for rings. I don't really deal with rings that don't have a piece of gemstone in them, but I directed him down to the metallurger. I think he would have had what they were looking for.
Okay. Well, we will check there then. Thank you for your time. I'm gonna flip him a copper piece for helping us out.
Okay, he catches it, kind of looks at it as if he hasn't seen a copper piece in a long time. Oh, thank you, sir. Just has this look on his face of just confusion.
I'm going to check the metallurgist shop then real fast.
Okay, you may go over to the metallurger. You notice as you go in, you don't see anyone behind the counter. Very similar setup, display cases. There's pieces of jewelry that specifically do not have gems in them. Some of them are very intricate. Others are simpler. They seem to be made of various different metals. You don't see anyone in the shop at the moment. Behind the counter, there's what appears to be a just cloth curtain, and coming from behind that curtain is the sound of grinding. You hear metal being ground.
Hello? Is anyone back there?
Oh! The grinding stops, and a very young man comes out. Yes, hi. What can I do for you? There's a pair of very thick goggles on his face. You can't see his eyes because it just has some very black frames in the goggles.
Yes, hello. I'm looking for my dwarfen friend, actually. I heard maybe a dwarf came by here recently.
Well, I mean, it's the city. We see lots of dwarves. Is there something... I don't know. I've seen a couple of dwarves today. Is there something that maybe...
There's a cleric, a paylor, about so high.
Oh.
He's
Hammer?
very obvious.
Got a hammer?
Yes.
Yeah, I do remember. He was looking for a ring. I did sell him some rings. Yeah, he had 2 rings, and I could get you some of those if you want. Is that something you might want to pick up? Maybe.
Unfortunately, I don't think I'm interested in purchasing anything today. He's a traveling compatriot of ours, and we're trying to regroup. By chance, did he mention where he might be going next?
Well, he mentioned he was looking for magic stuff. I don't really work with that, but I mean, if you look out, if you look just to the gotta look at the map so I make sure I give you the direction correctly. If you look just to the west, you can see a big tower. Might have gone over there.
What do you think, Zook? We can try over there, and if they're not there, we can regroup at the inn.
We'll look there, I think.
Okay, let's do that then.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time,
And then if
sir.
they're not there, we'll check the inn.
Right. I'm going to flip him a copper piece as well. Just so that way he has something for his time.
The copper piece kind of spins through the air and clink against his goggles. Oh! Did not see it. Reaches down to the floor and starts kind of scrambling for it. Stops. Takes off the goggles. Picks up the copper piece. Huh. You know, I haven't worked with copper in a while. Thank you. He goes back behind the curtain.
Alright, come on, Zook. Let's see if they're there at the tower.
Okay, so you walk over to the opalite. As you look, you do definitely see the opalite tower It's not very far away. It's just the next block over. You do walk over to the Opalite Tower. Let me gear shift over to Prudence and Rurik. I believe we were in the middle of a transaction. I think you were asking about...
That was a noise.
Okay. I
Sorry,
think you were
I dropped my
asking about potions, alchemy of some kind? Prudence, you say, that is all I'm requiring. Oh, I did not know he was not around. Oh, that's right, he was asking about, transmutation and healing properties. Yes, I think Prudence is done, so I'm just looking for input from Rurik.
I told him the scene shifted back to Rurik and Prudence, so he's gonna wrap up that phone call real quick. I don't think it'll take too long.
Ah, okay. Did not know it was a phone call. My mistake.
Yeah, I thought mine and Zook's scene would have lasted a bit longer, but it's okay. He should be back in a minute or two.
I'm trying to limit it to half an hour if we split you guys up, because after a certain point, it's just like, ugh.
I understand completely.
Because it gets boring for the other group, so.
Right. So.
Well, I mean, hey, that would give me room to get another sandwich.
Perhaps.
In fact, I'm gonna get some more water at least.
You can do what you want. I'm not going to tell you how to live.
Well, either way, me and Zook are making our way toward the tower while Prudence and Rurik are doing their thing. So hopefully Rurik will be back in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, you walk from the... Let me just pull the pieces off so you can actually see where you're moving. You're going from the Commerce Guild Marketplace. Round, you go down, just sort of generally following. It's not hard to see the tower over the buildings. They're not... The tower is easily the tallest structure in this area besides the castle itself. The district is perhaps named appropriately. You're currently in the High Spire district. Once again, you make your way around. You see the park, as Zook called it, and you get up to the tower. Once again, as you approach, it's a smooth opalite tower, and I'm just going to replace both of your pawns with a green one now because you're in the same place.
I'm back with drink. What'd I miss?
You didn't miss anything much.
Well, the tower might actually be a little bit difficult for Zook to see because he's so short, but no, actually, even with your limitation, you are able to see the tower over the tops of the buildings. It is by far the largest structure. You make your way up to the tower. It's made of this... It's composed of this almost glassy material. It's a very... opalite is a semi-precious gem, and it has this sort of iridescence to it. It looks like the tower itself is made out of this material. And as you go up, you see that one of the doors is open to the tower. There's two plain wooden doors. One of them's open.
I'm going to just peek in the doorway.
Okay. You walk up, you sort of lean in from one side and peek in the doorway. You see Rurik and Prudence. Rurik kind of standing there, arms crossed, looking into the middle distance, not really paying that much attention. While Rurik and another individual, an elfin individual, are having a somewhat animated discussion.
I'm gonna try to get Rurik again off the phone real quick. 1 second.
Okay.
Well, once we unpause the story, I would like to enter the room.
Yeah, sure. You can go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead and walk in. As you walk in, the conversation between Rurik and this individual winds down slightly, and she looks over Rurik's shoulder. And oh, hello. Are these the companions you were talking about?
Yes, hello. I am Shigun of House Fortemps. Who might you be?
Charmed. I'm Elwëa. You don't look like the magic type.
Unfortunately not.
Well,
But
there's always...
we were looking...
Do I look like the magic type?
You look like every type, little one. And she uses a little bit of she
Thank
puts
you.
out a finger and makes a little like flicking motion, and you feel a little pff of wind knock your hat off your head.
You didn't miss much.
Well, I better go fetch my hat.
It just knocks right off. It doesn't go anywhere. Just boop off your head.
Well, then I get the hat, and then I put it back on my head. Because that's where it lives, and it needs to stay there.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Alrighty, so Rurik, rewinding about 2 minutes, you are discussing with Elwëa about the uses of transmutation and healing. Which I think I just need to. Oh, so she's thinking. Well, healing tends to be more of an evocation type magic, and it's certainly not something that the arcane tends to worry about. But occasionally, you might be able to find some sort of false strength, as it were. It's not common. It's touching a little bit too close to necromancy for my taste, but there may be perhaps other uses of this type of magic. I can probably, now that you are out of the castle, I can probably turn off the tense music. Sorry.
Perhaps if I told you more about what I'm looking to do, it might help.
Perhaps.
I'm a researcher of sorts, and I am looking to further my knowledge of medicinal arts, spellcraft, and also turning towards faith as well. And
Interesting.
Yes, I get that a lot in my line of work. It's a very unconventional approach, but I have been seeking a means to restore my people and deliver them from a very unfortunate disease that I have yet to find a cure for.
None of your clerics or priests could find anything? Your god did not perhaps grant you with the ability to remove the effects of disease? There's a slight smirk on her face for this.
It's actually because of my god's influence and interference that I have included faith in part of my research. I once was afflicted with this disease, but the clan I hail from is an incredibly irreligious one. We had no faith of any god of any kind, and
interesting.
As a
not common for a dwarf.
We were a strange people. In retrospect, I realized just how shut away we were. But I found that as the doctor of our clan, I was unable to find any means of curing this disease, which I have come to dub stone blight, or it covers the skin with slowly forming stones, and much like they would scales, but it is an eventually fatal disease. But it takes a very long time to act.
Did it perhaps look anything like this? she sort of turns her hands over, and as you watch, she completes the motion, and her skin just has a stony texture suddenly erased into it, and you see that her entire body and most of her clothing has turned into a mobile stone. Which, for the purposes of this, I will say it does not look like that.
Okay, I was kind of unsure what to do with that.
The disease that you have been seeing does not necessarily actually physically turn the skin to stone. It just has the appearance.
Right.
In this case, her skin has turned to stone.
Okay.
As if she were casting a spell called Stone Skin.
I am afraid that is not quite the case, but I appreciate your candor and assistance.
Well, she kind of puts a hand in the pouch that's at her side and opens it up to reveal just like a dust that just disappears, and she clenches her fist and her skin turns back to normal. 100 gold down the drain.
I'm sorry.
It's not your fault. It's mine. Anyway, and as you are both having this conversation, Zook has now entered the room, and she notices over your shoulder, and we return back to that conversation. Hello. These are the companions you were discussing. While this is happening, Prudence, you've been looking at the spell scroll. You've been examining it, internalizing it. The stone itself, you sort of examine it a little bit, and as you look into it, you notice there's a quick spark, and you feel cleaner than you've ever felt. You look around, and your clothing is immaculate. You reach up to touch one of your horns, and it feels like it's just been polished. Like this magic is just what you were looking for. And as this completes, it startles you a bit, and you turn the gem over, and you see that the spark has faded somewhat. Okay, you tuck the gem away, hide the scroll, you roll it up and put it into your pack next to your spellbook. Okay, so Zook and Shigun have returned. They are now in the Opalite Tower with Elwëa, and has been introduced to Shigun. And knocked Zook's hat off, because she's a dick.
And then I picked it up and put it back on.
Because that's where it lives.
Because even in-character top hats are important to me.
Okay, so Prudence looks up and just nods at the door. As you are sort of considering, Elwëa, well, maybe it would be best if, and as you're talking, there's a little a pot almost. It looks almost like a kettle, but it has some strange sort of wiring coming out of it, and it starts to sort of hum gently. I think it's perhaps best if you go. I think you should go. And she goes over to the kettle and starts like very gingerly picking it up and moving it to another part of the room.
Well, I heard you two went on a bit of a shopping spree. What all did you pick up?
Heard something about a couple of rings. Who's the lucky lady?
Prudence, I did not get anything of importance. Did you get what you needed? Looks to Rurik.
I have everything I needed. I call after Elwëa. Are you sure you don't want some sort of recompense for the gold that, or for the fear spell component from earlier?
No,
No,
no, it's
response.
fine. I think, and now she is very visibly panicked. I think it would be safer for you if she gingerly places the kettle down into the existing crater. I wouldn't want anyone else to get hurt. She snaps her fingers and a shimmer forms around her.
You should probably move.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm inclined to agree. I don't like the looks of that crater. Come on, let's.
Yeah, I'm leaving the room.
Yeah, I'm.
As I make for the exit, I ask if she'll be all right.
Well, I haven't died yet. I'd like to keep it that way, so she flicks her hand to the door.
No.
I'm sorry. What was the last bit of that?
She flicks her hand towards the door.
Okay. I guess I'll make my exit. Respect her wishes.
Okay. Each of you exits the tower, and as you leave, the door slams shut behind you. And you wait a moment. Nothing seems to happen. Prudence, pretentious, deceitful, skilled, smug. She's as much a wizard as any. I can speak today. And as you are making your way away from the tower, I look forward to and dread a little bit our next meeting, if it ever happens.
I do hope she'll be all right.
Oh, I'm sure she'll be.
Shigun and I got what we were looking for.
Yeah.
It is quite important,
Yes.
but I'm not sure if now is the best time to discuss it.
We
Well,
should.
if it's anything of import, we should probably wait until we're isolated.
We can discuss
was-
it at the inn room.
That was my thought.
Okay. It's getting to be early evening at this point. You see the sun start to make its way down. The sky's getting a little dark, but it's not really like nighttime yet. At this point, you're just kind of a little bit down from the tower. There's nothing really of particular note around you.
Well, then let's head to the inn, head up to our room.
I don't think there's anything else that we. Is there anything else we need to do today?
I don't think so, but I think we should review what we've discovered.
Okay. Prudence, I agree. Perhaps the inn would be a good location for us to go. So do you make your way... Sorry?
I am of agreement. Sorry.
Okay. So you make your way back to the Fate's Draw?
Yep.
Is that yes, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Yes, sorry.
So you make your way
I thought
back...
you were narrating, not asking.
Oh no, that was a question. Yes, you make your way back to the Fate's Draw once again. At this time of night, it's starting to just get into the early evening. It's pretty packed. Very similar to the way you found it before. You came to the Fate's Draw later at night, the previous day, so it's probably not quite as busy. But they are making plenty of business at this point. You go in. There's lots of people around. You do see a couple of empty tables. It seems
Do we have rooms booked?
Not currently. You had rooms booked last night, but you only booked the one night.
Yeah.
Okay, let's maybe book for. Let's book some rooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I'm gonna head.
this is important. We can have dinner later.
I'm gonna head to the barkeep, or well, not barkeep, but whomever's in charge of the.
Okay. Yeah, once again, the bar itself was relatively long. There are actually 3 barkeeps standing behind it.
Yeah, that's right.
You approach the bar, and you do see the same very elderly gentleman that you ran into in the morning. He notices you approach. Oh, hello. Coming back for another night, I assume?
Yes, our travels here required us to stay an extra night in town. So do you have any rooms open for the evening?
Well, are you just looking for the one night?
For the time being, we're not really sure how long we'll be staying in the city, so we're just kind of winging it.
Well, very well then. Let's see. He sort of very shakily goes down under the counter and picks up the ledger that you saw before, drops it onto the table, and his hand just like very shakily opens the book. He flips to a second page. He flips to a third page. Oh, terribly sorry. And he takes a handful of pages and flips them all over. Oh yes, it looks like we should have quite a few rooms. How many were you looking for? 4?
Yes, there's 4 in our group. You could maybe do two rooms if you had something like that.
We only need 4 beds.
Right.
Well, we do offer...
Perhaps 1 room if possible.
We do not have party rooms. We do have rooms with 2 beds that may be able to have 2 people. If you would like to get 2 of these rooms, it will be 4 gold for the night. If you would like to have 4 of your own rooms, then it will be 6 gold for the night.
I think just the 2 rooms would be enough.
Very well then, it will be the 4 golds, and he holds out his palm.
Alright, I will pay him 4 gold.
Okay. You hand him the 4 gold, his hand closes and he tucks it into his back pocket, reaches very slowly below the counter, picks up 2 keys and places them on the bar in front of him. Your rooms will be on the 3rd floor.
Right.
The first door right at the top of the stairs, and the 5th door right at the top of the stairs.
Alright. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. And before you walk away, Prudence, I'm sorry, we're new here in town. Is there perhaps somewhere where a wizard would be able to earn a bit of coin? Perhaps an odd job posting or a bounty board of some kind? And the gentleman thinks, well, we don't exactly have much of a need. Did you go to that young lass at the tower, Elwëa? She might be able to have something for you. Of note, this is a human speaking. Prudence does a slow nod. Thank you. And continues on to meet with the rest of the group. Are you going straight up to your rooms?
I think so, unless someone
Yes.
else wants to do something. Okay.
Okay. You make your way over to the stairs that, there are 2 sets of stairs, one on opposite corners. You go up to the stairs that the barkeep had indicated. Go up 1 set of stairs, go up 2 sets of stairs, and you go to the rooms. So as mentioned, the rooms are the 1st and the 5th So there are 3 rooms between your 2 rooms.
Okay. I think we should just convene in one room for right now to share our findings.
I agree.
Okay, so you go into the first room. Key opens
Yeah.
the door, no problem there. You each sort of pile into the room and close the door. It is a larger room actually than the 2 you had the previous night, just because it's on the end. You are able to fit a little bit more comfortably into this room than the previous room, 2 rooms that you had before.
Okay. So, are we sufficiently isolated that I can begin to explain?
This is more a question for you guys. I don't have an answer for that, unless you'd like to ask for more information.
I'm going to open my bag. I'm going to take out the 2 books that I had.
This is actually fun for me because I missed all of your excursions, so I don't know anything you guys actually.
Okay.
In character and out of
and
character.
I also
I know, right? It's kind of neat.
and I also get the extract my scroll.
Okay. As you're
And-
doing this, Prudence opens up the window and leans out the window, perhaps a little too far for your comfort, but he feels it's fine. Deer flies off into the night. You close the window. Go ahead and roll a perception check for Deer. And then this will just be the... Okay. Go ahead with your conversation. I'll let you know if anything comes up that she spots.
Okay.
That's-
Given the
that
information,
siren timing was so good.
Sorry. Side effects of living in a city.
I know, but it's just that was hilarious.
okay, we have reason to believe that House Tarmyran is involved in slaving. Either is a slaver or is in contact with slavers.
Unfortunately, we're not
And-
really sure how deep it runs yet.
We suspect that House, I'm assuming it's called House Fandalo, because that, or it could be House Windark, the local royals, they might be in on it.
William,
We don't know yet.
William introduced the local nobility as the Windarches, the Windarch family.
The Windarch family. They may be complicit, and then we just run through the content of the scroll, run through all our information.
The concern I have is we're not really sure if they are complicit, so this makes it difficult to determine who we can trust and who we can share this information with.
See,
If they are not complicit, then they would make a powerful ally in trying to figure this out. But if we play our hand too early, it could wind us in a lot of trouble.
I suspect their librarian may have been trying to prevent us from gaining access to this information. It's possible he might just be a doofus.
He was kind of
aloof.
meandering around in circles. I think he was harmless, but then again, you never can be too sure.
As you say that, Prudence, how terrible. Potential for corruption to powerful people? Never.
Well,
In any case,
Of note, as Deer is flying around, she sends back a feeling of safety. She doesn't seem to have noticed anything untoward on the outside of the inn.
so how should we proceed with this? And what of our other objectives for La Raza?
Well,
our other objectives are, as I recall, to get some documents. relating to Delstrand and relating to Cindy.
Yeah, specifically, she needed a document of passage that would grant them access to Dolstrand, and notarized letter that would allow unrestricted passage throughout Cindy. Now, we do have information, well, we have suspicions about House Termyron, but they may already suspect that as well.
Prudence
What we need
says,
is something concrete.
Prudence says, if there's anything that's actually worth trusting, maybe we can ask the oldest people in town. They're the best judge of character.
Well, I do have access to the castle. They should be able to let us in without any issue. And I can speak with Peacekeeper Ulrich, and maybe I can continue to try to gain these documentations. I'd hate to have to resort to forgery or theft, but...
No comment.
Said the rogue.
Ultimately, we need to take this slow and cautiously, because my concern is if we reveal this information to Ulrich, if they are indeed complicit, like I said earlier, that may not bode well for us. So we should probably just see what information we can get. Maybe we can get that documentation.
I do have access to a spell that might be useful in future circumstances. It creates an area in which it forces people to speak only the truth. It could be useful for interrogation purposes, though it does not prevent them from not speaking, but it would allow us to gain more information from what they say, or lack thereof.
Let's see.
That reminds me, I have a game mechanics question. What is the explanation for how I have spells now?
I assume you're going Arcane Trickster?
Yes. I did. I have spells.
Poof, you have spells.
I mean, in terms of mechanics, that's basically it's poof, you have spells. I mean, if you'd like to flavor it however what you want, it can be perhaps you have an affinity for magic as a gnome, and you've been doing a little bit of research because you've encountered magical traps and magical items before that you think would be useful in your skullduggery.
I was in a library.
I was gonna say that's more of a you get to decide
Okay.
question. It's not less a mechanics question, more of a flavor question. Because mechanically, poof, you have spells. So.
Fair.
But you don't have them yet because you haven't long rested yet. So.
Right.
That spell could be handy. I wonder if there's a way to use it covertly, because I can see the appeal of using it for a captured prisoner, but I wouldn't want to, we're not going to go around restraining people in the castle and trying to use the spell on them.
Of course.
So, just to point a mechanical note, Zone of Truth, I assume is the spell you're talking about.
Yes.
You cast it on an area, you don't cast it on a creature.
Right.
And the duration of the spell is 10 minutes, and it is not a concentration spell.
Yeah.
So, whatever that may imply about the secrecy of the spell, just keep that in mind.
Good to know.
I've gained a spell that allows me to understand language in any languages. Like, not that useful, but maybe it, I don't know.
Comprehend languages.
Yeah, I have comprehend language. That's what I'm trying to communicate.
Okay.
I'm not very well suited as to determine what it is we should do next at this point. I'm not sure what would be best to find the information we need.
I can't quite hear you. What?
Sorry. I'm not quite sure what it is we should do next, as I'm unsure where we might find the information we seek.
Well, our objective is still the same. We need to get these documentations, so we can still focus on that. We'll just be cautious using what we know, and perhaps there may not be anything else for us to unearth here. We'll also have to find more information.
But what about that one individual that Larissa had mentioned by name? I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Laios?
Yes, Laos, him.
I was just thinking of that.
Perhaps we should pay him a visit. He might be able to tell us something.
He's quite far out of the way.
Well, good. We'll have all.
Not if the crow flies.
As the crow fly.
Or the
That's the hint.
raven.
As the raven.
As the raven, yeah.
If you think
Oh,
it's the same,
I was just making a pun.
I was just chuckling because of deer.
Brudence also says we could perhaps look at the note that we found on the bandits. They might have something.
What does the note read?
It was a contract
Oh.
to find a piece of jewelry. It was a circlet. There was a fairly crude sketch of it, and the bottom of it was signed with the dwarven rune. Yzra?
Yeah, it was a symbol for Yiran.
Yiran, that's the one.
That was actually the part I was absent from, so I actually kind of forgot about that.
But yeah, so I believe Shigun was the one who found it, and he understands Dwarven, so ta-da, he found the rune.
Right.
What do we know about Iran?
This is the
Would I
first
know
and only
anything about-
mention.
What we know?
About Yiran?
Is that like a book that we would have, a group that we would have heard of?
I will say, if you are proficient in history, you can go ahead and roll a check.
I do not have proficiency in history.
I do.
Oh, hey, yes, you do.
Okay. History. If you are trained in, history, if you have experience in that ability, or skill, I should say, I will allow you to. 23. Okay. I will say, Shigun, you do recognize the glyph. It is not so much a name or it's not a full word. It's a letter. And that letter would then be part of a larger word. It more or less, it tends to be used as a prefix of sorts.
Okay.
And depending on the context, it will generally tend to negate the word. So it will have a connotation of being the opposite, more or less, but as a letter alone, you wouldn't have necessarily heard about it. You just know what linguistically the glyph means.
So is it kind of like anti or not or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. It's like
Okay.
yeah, or
So
like
it's
Mao
the
in some of the
a
Latin-based
prefix.
languages. More or less, yeah. It's like the A prefix that make, moral, amoral, etc. Prudence. Let me double check. You don't know Dwarven, correct? I just want to. I'm going to tell you what you know, but I just want to tailor my answer a little bit. Prudence. Oh, you do know Dwarvish. Okay, so you know everything that I just said to Shigun. You know the basics of the linguistics of the language. You do also know, in addition to that, that the use of the glyph is, as a standalone character, is not common, but it tends to be associated with an underworld of sorts. You haven't seen this character. You haven't seen this character outside of your theoretical knowledge of Dwarven, but you may be able to find more information in the castle library, or perhaps nowhere in this city, but there are other Dwarven settlements that might be able to recognize the context of the message. But beyond your existing knowledge and beyond the ability to go find the other information, that's about what you know.
Is underworld figurative or literal?
Figurative. So, like, criminals. It's associated with criminals, essentially.
That is a big distinction.
It's not... yes, I realized this as soon as I said it, because I was like, oh wait, the Druigar exist. No, not literally referring to the Underdark. I mean, the underworld of a civilization.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you give this information to the group and shrug and say, that's there.
Doesn't seem relevant, really. That's something to keep in mind.
Well, we have a number of options at our disposal, it looks like. We can either try to get more information out of Rurik while staying incognito in a way, or... Yeah, I don't think there's much we can go off with this sketch for this circlet.
Sounds like something to keep in mind for the future.
Definitely.
Your voice is kind of fading. I think you're like leaning away from the microphone by accident.
Sorry. I mentioned that was probably something we should keep in mind for the future.
I agree. If we're going to get official notarized letters, they're going to have to come to the castle. The alternative is forgery, but
We don't want to earn the ire of the castle before we've begun our work here.
yeah, I'm just suspicious of trusting them directly.
So what's the plan? Do we go to the castle next, or do we go to the residence of this Laos person?
Well, I have a particular interest. Prudence makes a good point.
Okay.
I'm somewhat interested in the library there for my own research purposes as well.
Okay.
But
Just to verbalize it, Prudence says the easiest way to get the favor of the castle is maybe to work there. Just saying.
I believe we already have the favor of the castle.
yes, but workers can get in areas where visitors cannot.
That is true. We could split up our group. We could have, possibly Prudence see if perhaps there's a job he could perform at the castle while he does research there while we look for this Laos individual.
The cover that me and Shigun presented, Shigun as a traveling noble and I as his jester, preclude our finding jobs at the castle?
Yes, that would make it difficult for us to do so. Although I am hesitant to send Prudence in alone, if something were to happen. But then again, I suppose if he's just doing odd jobs, there's nothing inherently suspicious about that unless he's snooping around.
He kind of nods. Understood.
So we shouldn't go after these as separate groups.
We could try Laos first. Go to Laos as a group, and if Laos isn't able to help us, we could see if Prudence can get work at the castle. And I can always try to get an audience with Rurik or someone potentially higher up.
Yes, you would have a decent amount of influence with them.
In worst case scenario, if in the rare instance that that house, what was the house name? That house Windarch is actually already working against us. Not that I think that's likely, but if that is the case, then it would generally be safer to go to Laos first.
He says, well, Prudence says, worst case scenario, they notice that you've stolen from them and we all die.
Well, aren't you optimistic?
The library, we're just borrowing them. I have every intention to return them.
Do you have a library card?
Yes, it's the emblem on my shield.
That in mind, we should probably copy this scroll. Does anyone have a quick way to do that?
Wait, are you borrowing that or did you steal it?
I have it.
That is a true statement.
If you're borrowing those, then I'm borrowing this.
What am I borrowing?
The books, you have books. But you also took books.
He's referring to the history of noble houses that you stole. Excuse me, that you are currently in possession of.
I stole a book?
Or Shigun is in possession of.
I thought you were addressing me. I was really confused.
They're the two books I have.
This is the downside to both of
I
you using
understand.
the same mic. It's hard to see.
Sorry about that.
I understand you're borrowing those. And I don't recall us checking them out with anybody.
Prudence pipes up. I can copy the scroll by hand. He holds his spell book up. It's kind of my thing.
The scroll is the most important one. The first book is just suspicious because there's a lot of pages torn out. Although the second book, there was a strange language written in the margins.
Well,
And the scroll has Gnomish in the margins. Neither language, I suspect you addressing Prudence know. Are you sure you can still transcribe it accurately?
Well, you did say you have the ability to comprehend languages now. You might be able to find out what's in that second book Shigun mentioned.
That is true.
Point of note, Zook does not yet have access to his spells because he is not long rested.
Yeah, I don't have slots, but you know.
Yeah, you have the spell slots,
That's a
but
tomorrow
they're
morning thing.
considered expended until you long rest. So,
Right.
Well, it is evening. We could always do it in the morning.
That is my plan.
okay. And Prudence is saying something. Prudence pops open his spellbook, and for those of you who have never seen a spellbook before, it's quite interesting. Zook, you've actually caught a glimpse of not this spellbook, but you've caught a glimpse of spells before, and it's basically a notebook with etchings and runes and symbols and things that are unique to the caster. So it's basically nonsense to any of you. But he holds it up and just goes to a random page and says, I think I can copy anything without error, even if I don't necessarily understand it. It'll just take a little bit more time.
Okay,
We
that
can-
reassures me.
Yeah.
And I'm getting really grumpy because the text chat interface on OBS keeps not updating. But anyway.
Hmm.
Well, that settles it then.
And he, Prudence just snaps his spellbook shut. Just as a point of emphasis.
Tonight, or perhaps tomorrow morning, if tonight is not a good time, we will copy the scroll. Tomorrow morning I will read the book, and then we can take a visit to Leos.
Leos, that was it.
Yeah. We can. I think that's a good plan, and then depending on what we find or do not find with Leos, then we can see about speaking with Ulrich at the castle.
Okay. So Prudence, just in the middle of this conversation, turns to Rurik, who I think is currently holding both potions.
Ah, yes.
I'd like to perhaps see what we have, if you don't mind.
Ah, yes. I shove my hand in my pack, which is full of a lot of different things and nonsense.
You got a lot of stuff in
And-
your pack now.
I do. I'm carrying around a lot of stuff. But I pull out the two
You can just write
potions.
bits and bobs. Sorry.
One of these is some sort of resistance potion, but we don't know for what, and the other is completely unknown to us.
So Prudence takes them, and he just kind of, excuse me. He says, if you'd like, I can hold on to the healing potions as well. And at this point, Deer is now just like standing on the windowsill, and she can she can bring potions to you without really wasting time for us to run over ourselves.
She can. Sorry. She can carry potions. I didn't expect that. It's quite impressive. And I'll fish out and hand the two healing potions to Prudence as well.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I've seen birds carry all sorts of things back in my forest home.
Like coconuts?
Maybe not things that large.
No swallows in your sorry. I'm just fucking around.
I mean, this is a forest where the people aren't that large.
Fair enough. Alright, so Prudence will sort of withdraw a little bit from the conversation and just sort of focus on the potions, just like dip a pinky in and take a quick lick. And you, over the time, I'll say it takes you about half an hour to identify each potion. You identify the potion that you got off the bandits as a potion of greater healing. And you identify the other potion as a, potion of, I think, filter, potion, whatever the adjective is, in this case, of lightning resistance.
Oh, also, is there like any like, you know, okay, I'm like, oh, also I can do, I can do this now, and then I cast Mage Hand and use it to pick up a pillow, and it's invisible Mage Hand, so it's like, oh, I can do that.
Why would a potion of greater healing be useless? Or is it
Prudence quirks
is
an
it
eyebrow.
potent for it?
Fancy.
Excuse me.
Should make juggling easier at least.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant both were useless. My bad. I misread. Okay.
So he returns the potion of lightning resistance back to you.
You said
For
both.
reference,
So-
the full description of that is when you drink the potion, you gain resistance to lightning damage for 1 hour. It just means you take half damage from lightning.
So you have the two regular potions of healing, and I have the greater healing and lightning resistance. Is that correct? All right.
For some reason, the use that immediately came to my mind for such a potion is like, oh, you could drink it and then like jam your hand into a circuit breaker.
If you can find one in Greyhawk.
Yeah, that seems like a situation unlikely to come up.
I don't know. There's the belching vortex of, I think it's Kalo or something. Anyway, it's in a different country. Don't worry about it. Bryn says, "Well, you could drink it, and then I could lightning wave you." Which is not a spell that is in 5th edition, unless you mean Thunder Wave, which would not help. Which, by the way, Thunder Wave, best spell in D&D. Just saying.
Why? What's it? That's not important. I'll look it up later.
It's a drop the.
Can I
base
use
spell.
prestidigitation to clean my hat?
Yeah, that's what prestidigitation's for. Yeah, you snap your finger, your hat, bing, is all clean again.
Oh, nice. I recall my hat being not that clean, but now it's clean, so I'm happy.
Okay. Well, you don't really need to identify the gem you bought. You were told that it is a miniaturized cleansing stone. Okay. Yeah, you can take another long rest and long rest. You can take another short rest and focus in on the gem you purchased. It is a miniaturized cleansing stone. Cleansing stones tend to be about a foot in diameter and usually embedded into something so that people can go and touch them and clean themselves. It doesn't have charges. It does, however, it can, however, only be used once every 6 hours.
I feel it's getting rather late.
At this point, it is definitely night. It's not late night, but you can hear from the noises coming from downstairs that it is getting quite along in the nighttime.
Prior to our rest, there was something we obtained back some time ago that I wanted to take another look at. The holy symbol that we picked up at some point that was also listed for Paler, that was had a message inscribed on it. I'd like to I'd like to identify it and see if there's anything else interesting or important with it.
Okay. You can also take a short rest. For the purposes of this, do you guys have any other conversation left to do? Or have you basically figured out what you're going to do for the day?
I think we're good.
I think we're okay. I can't think of anything.
I don't have anything additional to do.
Yeah, plans to go to Leos and all that.
Alrighty, so Shigun
roll
and Zook, you go to the other room. Prudence and Rurik, you're both now doing your short rests, identifying your items in parallel. At this, just for the sake of continuity, Prudence, you're still focusing on the gem. Rurik, you take a second and you focus on the holy symbol, and as you work with it, you feel you feel healthy. You recognize that you begin to identify this as a periapt of health.
A what? Sorry.
Sorry, let me type the word. It is called a periapt of health, and what it does
I'm
is
glad you typed that out because I would not have thought of that.
While you're wearing it, you are immune to contracting any disease, If you are already infected with a disease, the effects of the disease are suppressed while you wear the pendant.
Oh.
It does not require attunement. So, as you finish this up, yeah, Prudence. I'll assume you share this information. It's an excellent item for someone who would like to. He just sort of glances to the sides. Socialize.
Can I get a Jolly Rancher?
That might be the best D&D joke I've ever heard in my life.
So as your evening winds to a close, you each retire to your beds, and you rest for the evening. Those of you, I know we all leveled up during the day, so all of your new abilities, your spells, you gain the hit points that you get from leveling up, and everything else is reset. You come to wakefulness. As you are sort of in the process of getting out of bed, there's a knock at both doors. Once again, there is breakfast provided to each of you. Two separate servants come to your doors, and they hand you both relatively plain plates, and they leave the room.
I'm gonna take a second and go get a Jolly Rancher.
I'm not going to tell you how to live.
While he does that, can you run through the effects of that periaptive health again one more time?
Sure. I can also put the item description of any item that you find. I can get you like a digital item card and get you that. You are immune to contracting any disease while you wear this pendant. If you are already infected with a disease, the effects of that disease are suppressed while you're wearing the pendant. So it can't cure disease, but it can suppress disease if you're already infected, and it prevents you from getting any more infections.
All right then. Quick mechanics question.
Real quick, Prudence, you nod to the servant as they walk out of the room. Thank you. The servant just does a bow on his way out the door. Yes, mechanics question.
Since it serves as a holy symbol, if my original holy symbol were to be taken away or otherwise incapacitated, could I use this other one as a backup, so to speak? Or does it have to be attuned to one specifically for me?
Holy symbols don't require attunement. As this is a holy symbol of Pelor, you would be able to use this as a spellcasting focus. Yes.
Okay. For now, I'm going to go ahead and just wear this until I can think of something potentially better to do with it.
Yeah, wear a pendant. That's probably about the limit of what you can do with it. But hey,
I mean, just saying. I
know. I'm kidding.
I'm considering giving it to someone else for its effects. I'm just not sure what to do with it right now. Unless someone else has any input.
Alrighty, so you each come to wakefulness. You finish your breakfasts, and I will say that you just take a little bit of time. You each come out of your rooms and bump into each other in the hallway. As you do,
I'm gonna update my prepared.
where would you like to go?
Well, there was still the information in the second book that was in an unknown language. I remember you specifically said it was common.
You're a bit far away from the microphone.
There's still the information in that second book that we had that's in the unknown language.
Right. Okay, so I'll get our morning tasks done. I will give the scroll to Prudence to copy, and then I would like to cast comprehend languages and read the book. What's the immediate context of the part where there's stuff in the margins?
So as you're looking through the book itself is just sort of a history of various noble houses. You flip, you do notice there are some minor notes written here and there in the other sections. You flip to the section that Shigun is specifically pointing out to you. You notice that the section is all about specifically House Tarmyran. Very young house. Some information about the various trades and workings of the house. You've cast comprehend languages, correct?
Yes.
Okay. As you finish the incantation, the words on the page seem to shift, as if a lens is suddenly placed over your eyes, and you can just understand the text on the side, the margins. The text is more or less reiterating what was on the scroll. However, it does also contain more specific information about the location of where House Tarmyran is physically located. The book is relatively vague. It does talk about various holdings in southeastern Alissa. There's some holdings in eastern Sundi. In the margins, it crosses out some of the locations are crossed out, and it specifies explicitly a location, and it repeats this location many times, of Bikhol. Let me type that out in chat.
How's that spelled?
Like that.
Yeah. And I communicate this to the party members.
Big hole indeed.
So Prudence nods. Of note, Prudence has tucked away the scroll, has not yet copied it, but will be copying it at a later time when he has a little bit more free time.
Zook, are you able to determine what language this is now that you can read it, or are you just able to read it now somehow?
Mechanically, comprehend languages doesn't necessarily tell you what the language is. You can just read it through arcane means.
Okay. I thought so, but I wanted to double check with Zook to see if he knew what language it might be.
Let me double check what languages you all know, because you might know a child language. Nope. Sorry. You look at the glyphs, and they look familiar, but it looks almost like common, but the letters are jumbled up, and there are weird diacritics that you don't recognize. This is not a language that any of you know, unfortunately.
Are we ready to seek out Leos to see what he might know?
I am all for that.
Seems that we are ready.
Okay, so you make your way down the stairs, down into the main part of the inn. Once again, as it is moderately early morning, there aren't a whole lot of people downstairs. There are some people that are eating various breakfasts. There are the three barkeeps at the bar. Three new individuals. One of which you recognize was the first barkeep who gave you the room the first night. She's behind the bar. So you make your way downstairs. Where would you like to go from there?
Probably return our inn keys or our room keys for right now.
Okay, you walk over to the bar. The young woman parks up. Hey, welcome back. getting a couple rooms again, I see. Maybe next time you try and go for more than one day, huh? It's a little cheaper that way.
Yes, we're not quite sure how long we'll be in town, is the thing.
She takes the 2 keys. Alright, just saying. We'll
I
be here.
understand. Of course, thank you.
I've had the same Beatles song on repeat in my head for at least the past hour.
Hope it's a good one.
It's a fine one. It's Girl from Rubber Soul.
Conjure beetles. Was it Insect Swarm?
I think it is.
Insect Swarm. You're surrounded by George Harrisons.
What?
I get it.
I'm
All right.
confused.
So you've returned the room keys. She sort of nods to the group and busies herself behind the bar.
So, it seems in order for us to get to where we need to go, we'll be taking a very long and winding road.
Yeah, we'll have to go through the west gate and.
Thanks. Nice. That was a good one.
There we go. There it is. I was hoping you'd get that.
It took me a
It's a
second because
Beatles-
I was
it's
kind
a
of
Beatles
cringing.
song.
Okay, I don't.
Yes, we'll be looking at probably leaving through the west gate and traveling along the outer boundary of the wall. Quick question. Would Rurik, having familiarity with the city, know a quicker and or more easier route to get to Laos rather than going all the way around?
I will say roll a retroactive investigation check representing your time, the last time you were here. Just to see how much you really roamed the city. Because I know there were a couple locations you went to searching specifically for your thing, but you may not necessarily have intersected
That's
this.
You said investigation?
Correct. You did not go to the castle last time we were here, so
Correct.
you may not necessarily have found anything in that area.
Oh. Apparently I know this city quite well.
21. Okay. Oops. I messed up the text. Fix. There we go. This is less something that you noticed while you were here, more something you noticed on the way out. There are a couple along the walls, just in between each segment of the wall, there are small access areas, usually reserved for the guards. You've only ever seen guards walk through them, but there are small access ports in certain sections of the wall, so it may not necessarily need to go out through the gate, but it's not anything you've seen the general public use.
Things that we're trying to keep ourselves to a lower profile, it might behoove us just to go the long way around instead. And so that's a path used mostly by guards.
That would also avoid a river crossing.
It would, yes.
I'm fine with doing that, especially since we don't want to attract any ire from the guard.
River crossings are preferable? How so? I would sink like a stone.
Also, who made that Beatles pun earlier? I'm not familiar with the voices, so I'm
That was
curious.
Denzi.
Ah,
And Prudence says, well, river crossings are preferable. Maybe you should learn how to swim.
My ability to swim is negated wholly by this clinky armor I'm wearing and all the stuff I am carrying.
And as you do that, you shake some of your armor and it clinks loudly against itself.
unless Pelor deigns to give me the ability to walk on water.
Prudence just kind of gives you a look of incomprehension.
We are going to the west.
He shouts loudly across the inn as the inn falls silent. I'm kidding. So you leave the inn, the wave to the barkeep on the way out. You leave the inn. You follow the trail. There's a better. There we go. Out of the Fate's Draw, you make your way down the street and towards the west gate. You know it's sort of generally in the westerly direction. You walk through this park area. As you go through, once again, you see individuals performing what looks to be martial training of some kind. Walk straight through, out the other side, and to the west gate. You came in through the south gate. The west gate is significantly larger than the south gate. It's, in your estimation, probably about twice as wide and 3 times as tall. Due to the size, so Prudence is asking if the security is more tense. Due to the size, there are proportionately more guards, but not so much that you'd expect maybe that there are issues coming from this side. They look to be about staffed evenly, just proportionately based on the size of the gate. So you make your way out through the west gate. The guards don't really pay you any mind. There are lots of people walking in and out of the city. There are a couple of carts that you see get stopped, and the guards just take a quick peek through the cargo, make sure there's no contraband and so on. You end up outside the gate. Outside the gate, there's a small, just a couple of houses here and there. There's like a roadside merchant set up outside town that probably couldn't make it inside town. Otherwise, it's relatively lightly populated outside the gate. You look to the north and you just see farmlands. So I assume you're going along the wall. Is that right?
That seems to be the most the swiftest course of action.
Yep.
Okay. So you make your way along the outside of the wall. There are a couple of guards at the various towers that are lining the outside of the wall. They do look down. Just kind of look down and then go back to whatever their rounds are. There's nobody. There is nobody between here and as you make your way down. No one is there. There's not a real road per se. The terrain's moderately rocky, but nothing that you guys can't handle without a small amount of effort. As you get up to the outside of the castle, you do see the access portcullises that you saw before, and there's no more past this point. And you look up above the wall, you see the castles, the 2 spires of the castle. Make your way all the way around. No gates. As you approach one corner, could I have each of you roll perception, actually? Sure. Deer has eyes. She can roll perception.
Very average rolls.
Yeah. I mean,
Quite
that's how
average rolls.
works. Oh, there's one.
And yet,
Deer has the best perception of all of us ever. Always.
as you come around the corner, Deer sort of pulls Prudence's attention to the side. And Prudence, you look and you see a small, almost dwarf-sized door right at the very corner here. Looks to be relatively unused, but it's currently the only opening to the walls that you've seen between the start of the castle and when you got around to this corner. You continue along the side of the wall here. I'm gonna wait for Prudence to to finish typing in case they want to do something else. Okay, no comment. So he does not inform you of this, and you continue walking. You get to what appears to be some kind of, not exactly a farmland, more like a personal vineyard, almost. You see rows of what appear to be grapevines. There's not a whole lot, but this is definitely the work of one or at most two people. But you do see a fairly well-kept homestead off in the distance, just outside of the wall.
Seems my grape-flavored candy is thematically appropriate.
There you go. You walk up to the homestead. It's relatively simple building, just a thatched roof over the top with what look like just plain wooden construction. There's a plain door on the outside, and there are no windows on this side.
I suppose just approach the home and see if we can find anyone.
Okay. You walk up to the homestead, you knock on the door. There's a as you walk up to the doorway, you can actually hear like a humming coming from inside, and you knock on the door and the humming stops. Yes? Comes a voice from the other side of the door. Hello?
Prudence is...
And Prudence says, the humming stops. It's the cops.
Is Laios home?
No, there's no Laios here. You hear footsteps on the other side of the door that go up to the door, but don't open the door or go through the door.
Should we like name check Larassa?
Prudence, well met. We're here to talk. Then talk.
I could... Since he hasn't opened the door yet, I'm going to whisper to the rest of the party. Since we haven't really opened the door, I could try Zone of Truth here. Help. Not sure if it would or not, or if it's even necessary.
You're a bit far from the mic.
Sorry, contemplating using Zone of Truth.
Which you've prepared this morning?
Yes, I did, yes.
Okay.
I'm actually reading over it real quick to check something. It doesn't say if it... I would assume it would pass through walls for the area it affects.
How large is the house?
Not large at all. Maybe 15 feet at its longest dimension.
Ah.
Okay, I'll sneak around the edges and keep listening in on the situation.
Okay, make a stealth check.
See if I can find something.
Ah.
By the wall of the house. Find something.
Okay, good to know.
I was
Prudence,
intending to be discreet about it, but...
Prudence just says, I would advise against it. If we cast spells to force someone to do something, then they tend to get a little angry. And he'll ask, Why are we here? What are we planning on doing? As you
I'm
go
trying to
around,
see if there's anything special about the walls.
Yep. So as you as you walk around to the side of the building, the walls you're looking at, or the building itself?
The walls are part of the building, aren't they?
Oh, sorry. I was asking the city walls, but yeah. So that you walk around this.
The walls
hovel.
of the building, yes.
Yeah. You look at this hovel. It's nothing seems out of the ordinary as you walk around. You do see on the side of the building there is a window. As you go to the back of the building, you see there is another door in the back. And if you...
Can I try looking through the window?
Okay. Roll... Just roll another stealth for me. Humor me.
Really? Really?
Okay. You peek your head up and over the windowsill, and you look into the room. There's no... It's a simple dwelling. There's a chair. You see a small, looks like a squat table. Across the room, you see what looks like some kind of a painting that's apparently in progress. There are jars of fluid here and there. They have the appropriate color of being alcoholic in nature. You see the person on the other side of the doorway, very, very frail, very thin, willowy, probably not much taller than you. Maybe 6 inches taller than you. They have a very large and bushy beard with white hair. And as you peek your head over the windowsill, he turns and looks right at you. Doesn't say anything, just looks at you. You duck down below the windowsill. And at this point, you hear the...
I'm just gonna message back to the party that he saw me.
Okay, you can cast message to, we'll say Prudence, just for ease. You're just like, guys, I think he saw me. At this point, the voice comes from the other side of the doorway. You don't need to sneak around. I'm right here. I'm just an old man trying to live out his life. What do you want? Okay. Prudence doesn't relay this information to you.
Didn't need to.
We're wondering if you knew a Lorasa.
A moment of silence from the other side of the door. Lorasa. Lorasa. I know many people. You may have to be more specific than that.
She's an elf about failing to jump up to indicate the height. Rather tall.
Okay, he sees your head like boop pop up above the windowsill. You're saying through the window. She's an elf about. Roll a strength check. Roll an athletics check for me. Just for shits.
Thanks.
Not bad. You actually managed to make almost her height. Like it's you've never jumped your whole height before. You're almost there. You're getting there, man. You've been doing your squats, working your quads. But yeah, you do pop almost fully up over the windowsill, and he looks over. An elf. What has she gotten herself? Are you discussing Larasa Anwe? Which is the last name of the elf that you met in
I was pretty
Darnak.
sure that was correct. Yes, that is correct.
Heavy sigh. The door opens to reveal the figure that Zook saw. Come in.
I'm gonna move back around to the front door.
Okay.
What? A reply for what?
Also apologize for the sneaking.
Oh,
An answer from Rurik and Shigun about what?
sorry, I missed that. Prudence was referring to us. We were here for because this was one of the sections
Oh,
that
right.
Larasa
Sorry.
had marked on our map as a point of interest, and he might be able to help us with our endeavor.
Of course she did. He's still standing at the door, motioning you inward. And Zook, as you come around, you apologize, and he says, "There's nothing you could have done. Don't worry." So I assume you're okay. Impatient Prudence is just thanks. And I assume you walk into the cabin structure.
Yep.
Okay.
You follow.
All right. Yeah. You each walk into the building. The man closes the door behind you. Gotta get my note for this adventure hook because this one's important. So you're looking for Laios. Laios has not been seen for quite some time. I am Nald. I own this homestead. Larasa sent you to me for what exactly?
Well, specifically, we're trying to obtain some official documents that would allow us.
You're a bit far from the mic.
Loud chair, sorry.
What the heck?
Specifically, we're trying to obtain documents that will allow easier travel, specifically to the city of Dulstrand.
And at the mention of Dulstrand, he sits back in the only chair in the room. Dulstrand. She's still on that fancy. Well, he looks at each of you. Okay. Larasa has a very interesting view of the way the world works. You can see his demeanor has changed somewhat. A little more guarded. Just a little more guarded. Nothing threatening, just a little more guarded. While Prudence is you're speaking, Prudence, you take a look at the painting. This is a fresh painting. You can see that there are still paints open. There's some smears coming out of jars. And the paint itself does both smell and appear still wet. It's more or less a figure. There's a figure. It's not very obviously made. And it's not, the painting hasn't quite been finished, so you can't quite tell what the purpose is, and the background hasn't been painted in. But this is a very clearly a very early work. He is very early in the creation process of this painting. Laras is trying to get to Dullstrand. And she sent you to me. And he looks up directly into Shigun's eyes. You see his eyes are a brilliant blue. The rest of him, he's wearing fairly simple clothing, very dull in color almost, and it stands in very stark contrast to his eyes, which very nearly pop out of his head with the brightness of their color. You look capable. If you help me, I might be able to help you.
And what is it that you might need assistance with?
You see, my son has gone missing.
Okay.
I have an idea of where he may be. He was taken from me.
Taken, you say?
The background song reminds you of Torchlight, which is great because it's from Torchlight. So
I don't even know what that is.
it's a Diablo-style dungeon crawler game. We were traveling to... He rolls his eyes. We were traveling to Dullstrand, he and I. We were set upon by bandits. They took my son. I have a vague idea of where he may be. Beyond that, I've been left here to rot.
Whereabouts do you think they might have taken him?
I believe he was taken to Pitchfield. Pitchfield is, each of you would know this just from being in the region. Pitchfield is the capital city of the Kingdom of Sundi. It is where the crown lives. It is where the majority of the population lives, both in the county of Pitchfield and in the city of Pitchfield.
See, that's a lot of ground to cover looking for a missing person.
Let me pull up my print map here, if I can find it, just to give you a frame of reference. Oh, yeah, so. There's the map here. You are here in Fandalo. Pitchfield is all the way right there. It is actually right at the very edge of where this map printed. That's Pitchfield.
Oh goodness.
Fandalo is here. Pitchfield is up there.
I was looking at Torchlight. Why are we talking about Pitchfield?
That's where Nald's son was taken, according to him. How long has it been? Prudence says, how long has it been? Nald sits back in his chair.
The overlay didn't update.
Of course it didn't. It's been roughly 2 seasons. He looks at the group of you. About 6 months.
Is there anything you can tell us about these bandits? Were there anything specific about them, or were they just common thieves on the road?
It's difficult to say. My mind is not what it once was. They knew who I was. They know what taking him would do to me. I don't know why, but they did. His expression sours for a moment. I have my suspicions, but I don't know for sure. It's been a long time since, well... He kind of trails off, leaves it at that.
Well, if we were able to locate your son, we're specifically trying to get documents for passage into Dolstrand. Do you think that you can get that for us?
He stands up, and Zook, now that you're seeing him standing, he was a little hunched over before, and he stands up a little straighter. He's a little bit taller than you originally thought he was. He stands up a little bit taller, attempts to make eye contact with you, but he's kind of small, so. If you can bring my son back to me, anything that you ask, anything that's within my power, you will get. As you're considering, he stands up, or he walks over to the table where some of the bottles are, and he pops the cork out of one of them. Alyssa ale? Kind of waves the bottle at you, the group. Any takers? All right. Shrugs. Starts drinking straight from the bottle. It's impressive how much he can fit down his throat. It's about half the bottle is there. By the time he puts it down back on the table, breathes a huge breath, there's maybe a mouthful left in the bottle. They
Quite
don't
the
make
impressive quite the impressive constitution you've got there.
Comes from a lifetime. Motion's out. It's outside. I dabble with it myself, so... Prudence pulls out a bit of a parchment that he has. Could you repeat again? I'd like you to give me all the details at once. How old was your son? Where was he taken? What did he look like? Nald. Well, we were on the road to Dolstrand on business, and we were set upon by bandits. Just past the border. We'd not yet made it to Druid's Hands, the settlement, but we were in the mountains. We weren't paying attention. He was... You see he's having a little bit of difficulty articulating. He had just passed his 10th name day. He's a young boy, about your height, nods to Zook. Blonde hair. He has his mother's eyes. Green. Like the most brilliant emerald you've ever seen. Fair skin. He's a strong lad, but I worry for him. Prince. Yes. As you're writing this down, he somewhat idly and shakily, shakily wanders over to the painting and starts pretty sloppily throwing color onto the image. You can see that now he's put a streak of yellow at the top of the figure's head and a stripe of green across approximately where the eyes would be. Prudence, is there anything else you think would help us find him? Roll a persuasion check for me, please. Well, I roll a constitution check for him. Ooh boy. Hang on. No, it gets better.
That's a crit fail.
I'm going to take a quick picture
Oh
of the
no.
constitution save that our buddy
DM
Nald.
taking pictures is never good.
I'm going to throw it
The
up.
last time he did this, I died.
It's not for that reason. But this
I-
is the constitution save he threw. Yeah, there's no such thing as a crit fail for a skill check. However,
Well, it's a double nat one.
when you have a constitution modifier of -2 and you roll a 1,
Oh,
at this point, right, he's very old and frail. At this point, Nald actually stumbles to one side, catches the painting with one hand, and pulls it down with him as he hits the floor. And he just mumbles, "Find Nald. Bring him back to me."
Is there a bed in this house?
You do not see a bed, no.
Did I see a bed? Okay. But there was a chair, right?
Prudence turns over to Rook. "Can you help?" Motions to Nald on the ground.
yes. I approach him, and is there I'm not sure how to do this.
And as he's, what are you trying to do? I'll tell you mechanically how to do that.
Well, I wanted to use my medical proficiency to help him stabilize him and tend to wounds if he has any. Not
Sure.
sure if this would just use up a spell or if this is just something I can do.
Roll a medicine check.
I want to put the painting back on the easel. It was a nice painting.
Okay, so you gingerly take the painting, which is more or less sort of still being held by him, but as you tug it, it comes out of his hands freely, and you set it back. You put the easel back up into place, 14, and then you set the painting onto it. He is drunk. He's extremely drunk. He's not injured. He does not look to be in any immediate danger, but the pain that he's experiencing is not external, from what you can tell. It may not necessarily be something that's medically wrong with him.
I would like to I'd look at the bottle he drank from and attempt to identify if there's anything strange about the alcohol he drank, using my proficiency with brewer's supplies.
Sure. Oh, you also have proficiency with brewer supplies. That's right.
Yes, I am a dwarf. I like to drink.
Yes. Roll a brewer's skill proficiency check. So roll d20, add your intelligence, and add your proficiency modifier. Okay. You pour out a little bit of the alcohol onto one of your fingers. You take a quick lick. It's soured a bit. It's getting there where it's almost getting to vinegar. It doesn't seem poisonous to the best of your knowledge. You take a careful sip and it makes you blanch a bit, but it doesn't seem poisonous. He just kind of drank a lot of it all at once. As he's on the floor, you notice as you're working a little bit with the wine that he vomits a bit on the floor. Nothing serious, just a bit on the floor there. Bit of a mess, honestly. You do hear that he is muttering very quietly as he sort of rolls onto his stomach and gets up onto his hands and knees. Go. Find Nald. Find Nald, and it'll be okay. Prudence, well, we're done here. Spins on his heel and walks out the door.
Shield is quite a ways away.
For reference mechanically, I would not make you do every day of the journey. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Okay. So do each of you follow Prudence out? Is there anything else you'd like to do while you're here?
In the hut?
I linger a bit by the elderly man's side and ensure that he's, well, as stable as a drunkard can be.
I
Alrighty.
have nothing else to do in the hut.
Yeah, your proficiency with medicine, you pull him into the rescue position, you look around a bit, you do see what appears to be water in one of the glasses and sort of nudge it by his side. You do another quick once over, just to be sure he doesn't have any cuts. There doesn't seem to be any major injury resulted as a result of this fall. Zook heads out. I assume you both head out, Shigun and Rurik.
Yeah.
Because you're all set. Alrighty.
Follow him.
So make your way out of the hut. As the door closes, Prudence points over to the wall, which again is right about there. Points over to the wall and says, "I found a door. Don't know if it means anything, but it's there." Just sort of points in that general direction.
I want to like investigate it. Maybe there's like a keyhole I can look through or something.
Okay. Yeah, you make your way over the vineyard. You get up to the door. Now that you know where it is, you don't need to find it. Go ahead and roll investigation.
This could be a discreet rear entry into the castle.
What?
Okay. Hey, as you
I'm
look
not
over
even
the
rolling
door,
that much, and I'm rolling badly.
as you look over the door, it looks to be fairly plain. It is made of it is banded wood, so there is mostly wood, like a very hard wood, maybe I don't know, a walnut or something of the sort that has metal banding on it. So it is very clearly designed to withstand some impact. You look it over, it is locked. There is a keyhole you can peek through. As you're looking over, nothing majorly stands out.
I'd like to look through the keyhole.
Okay. Peek through the keyhole, roll perception for me, please.
Okay, can we roll nice just this one time?
Hey.
Thank you.
You peek through the keyhole. You see what looks to be. Remind me, do gnomes have dark vision? I think you do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Shigun is the only one of our party without it.
Okay. So you peek through the keyhole. There's a very, very faint amount of flickering light coming from around a corner you can't quite see. The opening goes in for about 5 feet. It looks to be less of a room and more of a hallway. You look as far as you can to the left and right, and the hallway just kind of extends outside your field of vision. There's nothing major inside the space that you can see, but you do not see or hear anyone or anything.
Okay, I want to mark the door on the map. Maybe we can investigate it later from the other side of the wall.
Okay, I'll temporarily mark it there for now.
I think this might be a discontinued passage.
Of note, as you're investigating the door, you tug on it slightly and it opens freely. The door is not locked.
Oh,
Well, then I close it.
Okay. You close it back up again.
I'm curious where this might lead.
That's a security oversight if I ever saw one. Unless it leads nowhere, it could be leading to a storage room or something. Strange that it would only be accessible from the outside if that was the case, but how strange.
This is definitely a way in. Certainly not an official one. I suspect either it's for the benefit of the man in the house.
Oh yeah, I never actually
I
put his
forget his
name
name.
in the chat.
The
Nald, he called himself.
Nald.
Yeah.
It's either for the benefit of Nald or whoever used to be in the house. Or House... I keep forgetting the name. House Windark
Windark, yep.
has some discreet business that they do on a regular basis, enough to need an entrance directly to the castle that does not go through any of the security checks.
Okay. So Prudence kind of pushes past you, noticing that you had opened the door, and opens the door up. It swings inward. And go ahead and roll investigation. And he kind of looks around the walls, trying to get an idea of when it was used last. Okay. You can't get any specific details, but this door, while seeming from the outside like it's fairly hidden, the lack of dust in the area indicates that at a minimum this space is fairly well traveled. You can't really get anything specific about this door, but the door opened pretty freely and there doesn't seem to be a lot of dirt in the area, so you can guess probably pretty recently. Maybe not today, but it, you know, it's about as close as you can get with the 7.
Okay, in that case, then I'm not sure we should really be sticking around.
Yeah, I agree. We should probably make ourselves scarce from this door.
Because if it's used often, then that means that it's probably not Nald who's using it.
Okay. Prudence says, well, I could... He kind of scritches the feathers on the underside of Deer's neck. I could change Deer to a more suitable form to sneak and investigate relatively safely, but I will need a bit of money to change your form.
Is this money you would need per each usage of the spell?
So for
Certainly.
reference, the spell Find Familiar specifically requires 10 gold worth of spell components, and those components are consumed because they have a gold cost. You just have to mark off 10 gold of whatever. But Find Familiar also takes an hour, so that is also something to bear in mind.
I don't see any reason to resort to that at this moment.
And Prudence also just says, yes, I need 10 gold every time I bring her back, so.
I'm not sure what to do. What would be best here.
We could try investigating this area, or we could. I do know at some point, if we decide to head out to Pitchfield, we should return these books in the scroll so that way they don't discover that they're missing.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should at least head back into town, though we are approaching the end of our time.
Well, if this
The end of the
This
session.
this might lead into town or even into the castle where we could return those books. So
It could, but it could also lead us into trouble. We don't know who uses this passage or for what specifically.
Alright, so as mentioned, we are running up towards the end of our session, so if you'd like to make a decision, I'm not going to rush. We can pick up right here if you would like next time.
Okay.
I think that'd be best. That way we can kind of, maybe talk
Do
about it a little bit out of game and figure out what we
Do
want to
some
do.
table
next.
talk. Alrighty,
Figure
so
out the door.
gonna stand up because my knees hurt. Alright. Oops. So, hey, cool. The two of you that are still watching, thanks. Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks everybody for playing. We will be picking this game up not in 2 Thursdays because 2 Thursdays from now is Thanksgiving in the US. I believe we ended up deciding it was going to be the Friday. I didn't get an answer from everybody on that one though.
Friday's good for me.
Friday the
Are you
29th?
That's Black Friday, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not doing anything.
I think that should be fine.
I don't
Okie
believe
doke.
in that staunch capitalism. I'm not for that.
Oh boy. And on that note, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks everybody for playing. I do have a Monday game that we'll be playing on next Monday, the 18th. And yeah, we'll see where we go from there. Thanks, guys.